look at the other side of high-rise. The high-rent, high-status buildings. The mini-Manhattans that have sprung up in the heart of every Australian capital city. To many, high-rise means only high-density living accommodation. The sort that governments put up, usually at fairly low rent, for people on fairly low incomes. This sort of accommodation is often discussed, and usually in the blackest terms. Much emotional argument dwells on how it affects the families that live in it. But what of people with accommodation that's not even barely adequate? What of the 100,000 on government waiting lists throughout the country? How are they affected by the other side of high-rise, the towering office blocks that devour money, labour and building materials? As monuments to commercial progress, these buildings may have given us some pride, but they've also given us a glut of office space across the country. In one city alone, the amount of unleased office space is equivalent to over 13,000 houses. But the glut hasn't stopped more buildings going up. Maybe restrictions on credit will. If the office building stops, will resources be diverted into home building? Will the shortages of building materials then cease? The government certainly hopes so. Other people deny that there has been a misallocation of resources. They blame the shortages on industrial troubles. Who is right? Is there a simple answer? Ken Burslem reports.
If you walk through Gertrude Street or Gore Street or many of the streets around here, you'll find numerous homeless men and, to a lesser degree, homeless women wandering the streets at night. The inner suburbs, like Fitzroy, are very important to their survival.
We move from private ownership of land, the right to develop other than what is on the land at the present time. And that as and when redevelopment and change of use is indicated by the needs of the city rather than by the whims of the owner, then that has to be imposed on the owners rather than consent being given so as to suit themselves as and when.
For a number of city developers, 1973 was the worst year ever. Every major project in Sydney is now at least 12 months behind schedule because of industrial troubles, bad weather and an acute shortage of materials. The delays have cost developers many prospective tenants who can afford to be selective. The industry believes this is a bad phase that will pass, but before that sunny day, the credit squeeze or a recession could cause a number of speculators to fail this year. As one financial writer put it, they'll fall from the trees like autumn leaves. If they do, their demise would add emphasis to that persistent question, in a community desperately short of housing and schools, how better could we have used much of the money, the labour and the materials that made that splendid skyline?